Hello, this is Walking Gently with Paula, and I'm Paula. And today's lesson comes from Daniel in the Lion's Den. Now, who was Daniel? Daniel was a prophet. Um, but before, when he first became, well, he was appointed to the king appointed several young men to come and to learn how to serve him. So he learned how to serve the king, him and several other men. And so he went through several kings, King Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, and now finally he's at Darius. And King Daniel was very upright. He could do no wrong. He only did what was right in God's eyes. He didn't want to eat their food. He wouldn't pray to their God. So he was, in everybody else's eyes, Daniel was a little rebellious, but he was just faithful to God. So now it's in the realm of King Darius, and Darius has elevated Daniel to be in charge of because he could do no wrong, and he had visions and he interpreted dreams, and he was a good guy. But the other administrators, they did not like Daniel. They wanted Daniel out of there because he was a goody two shoes. So they were trying to think of all kinds of ways to get rid of him, and they could not. So now Daniel was so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps about his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this point, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they weren't able to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. So finally, these men, we'll never find any basis for charges against this man, Daniel, unless it's something to do with the law of his God. See, they had their God, and then there was the God. So they went to the king. So these administrators and the satraps went as a group to the king and said, "Hey, hey, King Darius, live forever." But the royal administrators, prefects, satraps, and advisors and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforced a decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, when Daniel learned of that decree that had been published, he went home upstairs to his room. He went to the window towards Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he got down on his knees and he prayed to God and he thanked God, just as he had done before. And then these men went as a group and they found Daniel praying. They're like, you're praying to your God. We've got you. So then they said to the king, Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. And when the king learned of this, he was greatly distressed because, he really liked Daniel. And he was determined to rescue Daniel, and he made every effort until sundown to save him. And then the men came as a group again to the king Darius and said, "Remember, your majesty, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed." Ah, rats. So, so the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and they threw him into the lion's den. And the king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." And a stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and it was sealed with a signet ring and with these rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Now, what does that remind you of? Is that something like the tomb of Jesus? When they put Jesus in the tomb, they put a great stone in front of him with guards so that no one would come and disturb it. So at first light of dawn, the king got up and he hurried to the lion's den. And when he came near to the den, he called to Daniel in anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" And the king was overjoyed when he gave the order to lift Daniel out of the den because Daniel was there. King, I'm here. I'm good. The lions did not eat me. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, there was no wounds found on him, not a scratch, because he had trusted his God, the God. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they even reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them, crushed them, and all their bones, because they were hungry, because they didn't get to eat Daniel. So then King Darius wrote to all the nations and the people of every language in all the earth, my little lions. May you prosper greatly. I have issued a decree that every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed, his dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. See, Daniel trusted God. God was faithful. God is always faithful. You know, the outcome may not be what we wanted. The outcome is always what God wants. Anyway, thank you, friends. And again, if you like this, if it helped you, if you want to share it with your friends, please subscribe and visit my other sites. Thank you. Until we meet again. Bye-bye. Maybe. Maybe bye-bye.